There's nothing better than seeing your collection grow as you collect new series, catch up on others, and get that special edition. But at some point, you need to start reading it, the dreaded TBR. And if you wait too long, you might just have a big task in front of you. This was my collection, and this was my TBR. We're all guilty of this at some point. I know I was. I had delayed reading most of my collection for 2 years because I wanted to make manga reviews, and to make sure I remembered as much as possible of the series I was reviewing, I didn't read anything else while making that video. The issue was I was slow and kept thinking, I'll get to it eventually. But that time never came. After I released my Gundam review, I looked at my unread pile and I knew I had to put my reviews on hold. I needed to conquer this beast. Most of us have a TBR, or to be read portion of our collection. It's normal not to have read everything unless you buy 1 volume a month. More often than not though, the backlog is bigger than we care to admit, and mine was no exception. I knew I wanted to turn this into a video and wanted to catalog my progress. I also knew that keeping track of what I had read would be impossible if I didn't catalog it in some way. So, like an accountant, I made a spreadsheet. Simple in format, my series, volumes owned, and volumes read. I had read 62% of my collection. That's not just low, but too low. Now I have some series that I'm saving for future manga reviews, so I'm not going to count those. But even after subtracting those 47 volumes, we are looking at 146 volumes that I needed to read. I had read 69% of my collection, not counting those review volumes. For most people, 150 volumes are not that much, but I had other things to juggle, including becoming a dad and some future obstacles, but we'll get to it. So the question is, how do you start reading a backlog? Where do you even begin? Well, depending on the size, you might want to catalog your progress. More often than not, our TBR consists of multiple series, and keeping track of how many volumes you have read of each series can become difficult quickly. As I said, I did the boomer approach and made a spreadsheet. Every single series I own with the number of volumes I had and the amount I had read. Now, I just had to start. Yeah, that's easy to say. I had the Kanto Pokédex to read and the size was intimidating. Where do you even begin? Well, gotta catch them all, I guess. And like picking a starter, I went with what spoke to me. The easy cop-out. I caught up on series I had taken a break from. So series like Mashle, Fire Force, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and so on. Then it was off to the races. It was great with some familiarity to begin with, just to ease into it. It makes the daunting task of conquering the mountain pile of volumes easier to overcome. It also helped with motivation, which is a big part of it. It can be motivating to read all the new stories, but also demotivating having to read that much. Even if we love to consume, after eating your favorite meal for months straight every day, you tend to want something else. And to make sure that didn't happen, I prioritized to balance in new series I hadn't read beforehand. A complete read of Fire Punch, Alice in Borderland, Colorless, Blade of the Immortal, last half of Berserk, and so on. Every time I finished such a series, I went back to catching up on ongoing series I'd either read online beforehand or following along when a new volume dropped. The most important part for me was for this to not feel like a chore, something I forced myself to do. This also meant that I couldn't rush it, because if I was just going to speedrun my backlog, then what was the point of reading it? Well, point is objective really. Sometimes the point is more on collecting and completing the series. I even made a video discussing that very subject. How I get caught up on catching up on all our series, completing them, finding that missing or elusive volume. We make that the single point and focus of collecting, accumulating more books, getting a collection as big as all the others. And in the rush, we forget that there are more reasons for collecting. It just so happens that making the volume count go bigger makes the brain release the good hormones. At the end, I finally did it. I read my backlog. All 146 volumes. And it only took 2 years. Wait, why did it take 2 years? Well, as I stated earlier, I had some obstacles. Sure, having work, daughter, girlfriend, family, and other things slows the process down. But the real reason it took so long was because of this channel. Or more precisely, because I wanted to make videos on the things I read and did. I managed to collect all of FMA in hardcover. Why not pause reading and spend 3 months writing a script and making the video? Or do the same when I finish Vinland Saga? What's 4 months more? Or maybe the follow-up to my Berserk video back in 2021? Spend another 6 months on that while not reading. So when this TBR could have been done in half a year, I dragged it out to roughly 2 years. But nevertheless, achievement unlocked. Read the backlog, finally. It's no longer stressing me out and embarrassing me when I show my collection and have to say, haven't read it yet. Huh? What's that over there? More? So what happens when you're slower than a glacier taking a stroll to read your collection? Your collection grows. And I wanted to read all of it. So I kept going and collecting and making videos. And before I knew it, I had read not just 146 volumes, but 319, and I was still not done, which meant I could still not make this video. I had to speed up if I wanted to read everything before accumulating more. Just speedrun it, who cares? Having a TBR is my bane, but now it's not fun anymore. The pressure of needing to read everything takes away the joy of seeing those stories spring off the pages. And that's when it hit me, and why I'm making this video now, even though I haven't read 100% of my backlog, excluding the ones saved for reviews. I should have realized this earlier, since it was one of my main points in my Complete a Series video. The point is, it isn't a race. We shouldn't hurry or stress about reading that TBR. Sure, we also shouldn't let it grow uncontrollably, but we need to remember it's a journey, and we should appreciate that travel. It's not about reading your collection, but to experience the stories and worlds you bought. Going on adventures, get your heart broken, see the cosmos, explore the world, relive childhood wonders, and so much more. Your collection is more than just an accumulation of volumes. It's art, stories, emotions, nostalgia, relatability, self-expression, connection, entertainment, and more. And at the end of the day, you probably bought them for many reasons, but I bet one of them was with the intention to one day open them up and read them. And we owe our volumes to be read, at least once. So don't dread or be embarrassed about your TBR. We all have them, and sometimes we get so caught up in the collecting aspect that we forget about also reading it, and there's no shame in that. If you spend a lot of money lately and need to give your wallet a break, then that is an excellent time to get to know your backlog. Get comfortable and start reading it. Just as with collecting, you're never done reading your backlog, so don't stress about it too much. As long as we remember to open up the volumes from time to time, we should be fine. And hey, you might even end up finding a new story that sneaks into your top 10. I, on the other hand, have since making this video accumulated this TBR, so I'll get right back to reading it. Only this time, I'm focusing more on enjoying it than finishing it.